Mike, your secondary stayed out on the field after the walkthrough to do a little bit of extra work. I mean, a lot of changes for this week. I mean, just how do you feel about the impact of the injuries, especially to Terrell, and just how that secondary might hold up?
I feel terrible for Butter. You know, you need, once again, the same conversation every time football gets taken away from a guy, and it's what they love to do. And, you know, they don't necessarily, it's not this way, but they don't feel as much a part of it, you know, and that's too bad. But their teammates do a good job of keeping them involved. And then the changes, they're pro football players, right? They're going to step up and they're going to make the most of their opportunity. But looks like both secondaries have a bunch of changes.
Just wondering how you feel your depth. How would you describe your depth in the secondary compared to maybe other aspects of your team?
Well, I mean, up until a couple weeks ago, it was probably pretty good. You know,
point, yeah.
So it just changes. It fluctuates throughout a season.
But even a couple weeks ago, even when Jamal went down, you had to bring a guy in. You didn't have one here, so it just seemed like it was thinner there maybe than other areas.
Yeah, once again, there's ebbs and flows throughout a season when you feel really good about the depth in one group, and then a short time later, you're trying to figure it out. So, I mean, it's nothing new.
Are you guys actively kind of looking to bolster that area, or is it?
Well, simply by numbers for practice, you have to.
Yeah. What do you think of Drew Brown's last week?
Yeah, it was a hell of a good week. I'm sure he's happy with it.
Yeah.
But he's a good competitive guy too. I'm sure there's a few plays that he wants to have back. You know, despite how good it was, you know, everybody at this level wants something a little better, right? But I've said this all along when he was here, and now he's a football junkie, right? So he's pouring through that film, or he doesn't even need to see the film. He knows everything that went on the game, every play, like a golfer and golf holes, you know. I'm sure he's pretty pleased with some things and wanting to do something different in others. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty damn good game.
Does that get some extra attention in the defensive meeting rooms then, that after a guy coming off a game like that? Or?
I don't know if it's extra attention. You know, coaching-wise, you're breaking down the film, looking at the reasons why plays worked or didn't work, looking at the plays that may give us trouble based on what we do compared to what the other team did. You know, it's more of an analysis. It's not, I don't know that it's talking about this guy's hot.
No.
You know, I think it's more like, okay, here's why this worked. Here's what this may look like against us, blah, 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 you know, over and over again, yeah.
If there's one thing you'd like to see from your team better?
Just continued improvement, you know.
A little bit everywhere? Or something
Yeah,
like an
everywhere.
area?
Of course, everywhere. Yeah, always. Yeah. But like I said, you're not pinpointing a percentage or whatever. You're just like, for a mistake that happened last week, not to show up again, and just show that constant improvement, right? I thought, for the most part, we played decently. I think there were a couple plays that, you know, as I said after the game, you make those plays, different outcomes on those plays. You know, you don't know what can happen, right? But as long as we're continuing to grow, and I mean, the effort they put in yesterday was awesome. So,
Cam Allen draws into the lineup. What have you seen from Cam in his 3 months here?
yeah, he's suited for that spot. Like when you watch practice, he's in position to make a lot of plays, you know, for what he's being asked to do. So I think he's you know, a higher football IQ guy, and I think from that kind of spot, he sees the game really well. He's another guy that at practice you watch him, and he's going to be around the ball a lot.
I actually don't know how this works. When you scout a guy to bring him up for training camp, do you know where he's going to fit in by the time he gets here, or do you find that out, or is it
I mean,
mixed?
there's some discussion about that, obviously, but then it's up to the coaching staff to move guys around and give them opportunities at a bunch of different spots, see if they can handle moving around. If they aren't handling moving around, find their best spot, let them compete there, and then understand as camp goes on, if you really like a guy, you better keep moving him around. just so he has as much opportunity as possible.
And your impression of Dylan Mitchell, played his first game, now going into a second.
Yeah, he was right. He had a few first downs, caught the ball well, got north. Yeah, I mean, he was on time. He did all the things that you need to do to start plays and finish plays, right? And see if he can't end up with more opportunities. But I thought he did well.
Like, you guys obviously knew how talented Drew Brown is and what he was going to become and whatnot. And also, you guys have an MLP quarterback, so you were set at that spot. But just having developed Drew and knowing his potential, just how tough was it, having to see him leave?
You could say that about any position, right? For guys that have left, that have been here for a few years, it just comes to the point where they're still not going to get the opportunity that they want. And I mean, that's the reality of it, right? That's pro sport.
Trey, return specialist, now having to play corner as well. Just how tough is that? Or maybe that's not the right word, but having to play corner and returner in the same game as a rookie.
I think he's wired the right way. I think he won't. You just get a sense that he's a riser. He wants every opportunity, and he's going to keep giving out everything he can to just make the most of that play and then see what happens on the next one, right? But he strikes me as a riser, wants more opportunities.
Hey, Mike.
Ed.
How you doing?
Good.
Early on the weekend on their coaches show on CJOB, you said something about you showing the team the details of what winning looks like. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Well, when you're in the meeting setting, I think, you don't want to fall in the trap of always just the mistakes. They get corrected. The guys know. They show up. I mean, they know pretty well right away. On the field, they know if there's something messed up, and they pretty well understand it. They're pros. You still got to go through it because it's not just about the one guy. It's about the group learning from it, making sure that everybody around understands. So if you say a guy's name, the group needs to make sure they're all listening, because you don't want to repeat the mistake. You could be in that spot, all those things. But more than just correcting mistakes, you do have to show them what winning football looks like. I mean, it's part of it, for sure.